Ava, Stephen, welcome. Scott, are you new to the group, or did I miss? I'm not remembering which company you're from.
Yeah, I was on the last meeting, I think.
Okay.
I'm with Xilinx. We just
Yeah.
membership.
Sorry.
So yeah.
My apologies. Okay, so let's get started. Can you guys see the screen?
Yep, sure can.
Okay. Okay, reminder that we're an open and collaborative community protecting data and use. Our antitrust policy, go read it if you have not yet at linuxfoundation.org/antitrust-policy. So agenda today, beyond the normal items, actually this press and analyst update is, I don't think we have much. There was a contributed article that came out today that I haven't sent out to the group. So, but mainly it's going over the white paper, which I don't see Sarah on. So I was hoping that we would finish up on the blockchain use case, because we had the on the TAC, you know, they basically put out for comment, and I don't think anybody objected so to the current blockchain use case. So I was hoping to finish that. There are a few updates on the white paper that we'll get to. Ben, we cut off your OSS Europe discussion in the last meeting, so we want to allocate a fair amount of time to that. If you want to, you know, make your proposal to attend OSS Europe and any discussion of things we need to do in the short term. And then I wanted to propose that we organize the first webinar. So that's the last item.
So yeah. The speaker bureau, did we want to talk about that today, or?
If you have things ready to talk about, then
yeah.
let's
I have
do that as necessary.
I kind of have two options, and I have a multi-stage proposal.
Okay.
Why
don't we add that in front of the webinar, since
okay.
This is kind of like the second, you know, we previously agreed to do that. And then we can always talk about the webinar in the next meeting, although it won't take very long. So, okay, let's do that. I'll just turn it over to you, and you can share whatever you want to share. I don't have slides in there, obviously.
That's totally fine.
Okay. Let's do a roll call. Just looking at it, I don't think we have quorum. We have light attendance today. So Stefano, do you have everybody noted? Ben, Ava, Scott, Stephen?
Sure do.
Okay. Okay, well then we can skip the approval of minutes, and we'll just do 2 in the next meeting. Quick look at action items. Stefano, number 1, any change on the user engagement subcommittee?
No change there.
Okay. Ben, number 2.
No change.
Okay. I still have not met with the Open Enclave Workshop people in additional beyond what I had reported before, so that we'll leave that on there. 7.0 number 5, the data down from conference and FDC.
Have indeed moved that forward. I've gotten some of the data in. Once that'll be done for the next meeting, and I'll have a link for you to the Google Sheet.
Okay, we'll leave it in progress, but there's been some additional progress made.
Indeed.
Okay. Okay. I have not done the PR contacts yet. Google Analytics.
So for number 7, no progress yet on the quarterly report. Ben and I took a look at it. I at the Google Analytics site last week, and it shouldn't be hard for me to do that. So I'll keep that on my radar and make sure I get it out. Then in terms of the SEO enhancements, Ben and I did meet and go over that. So the game plan there is I'm going to be, for each page that we have, each post in each page, there is a section to fill out in WordPress that specifically addresses SEO using the tool that I mentioned last week called Yoast.
Okay.
So I'm going to be working on that. Once I have all of those complete, then Ben and I will circle back. And I think, Ben, we had some next steps to take after all that was done. Trying to remember what the heck they were. I did write it down.
I'd say, I don't know how many pages you have that for, but if you need help, feel free to, enlist people from the committee to help on those pages. If it's easier for you guys just to do it, then go forward.
Sure. I think there aren't a ton of pages. I think it should be fine for Ben and myself to just crank out. If I do need help, though, I'll ping the group.
Okay. And I marked this as done for you already because I saw via email that you did this and checked it. So
yeah,
the white paper is updated.
Yeah, and please do go to the site too. There's a whole bunch of updates. Craig's group provided me with many graphics. I have used those graphics to make our website look a little more professional. So please give it a whirl, and comments welcome. Happy to make any other changes there.
And I'll touch on the white paper stuff when we get to the white paper slide. I don't think we're going to be able to do much on the blockchain use case because Sarah's kind of leading that, and I don't know what the status is. So unless somebody else was involved and worked with Sarah, we'll just table that until the next meeting, or I'll follow up with Sarah offline.
Yeah, I think we'll have to table that. I also, it was brought up to the TAC, and I did send them a reminder that comments would be useful by yesterday, and I did not see any comments.
Yeah, and I think the intent was then to go over it here and say, okay, approved, published, kind of a thing on this meeting. So I'll follow up with Sarah. And Ben, I saw you had like one comment on it. So maybe when we get to that point, you can, explain your comment, and we can just get a, for the people on the phone, see if there's anybody who has outstanding issues that need to be resolved before it's published. Did I miss any action items, Stefano? I took these from the minute.
No, I think you're good.
Okay, speaking of the white paper, so we'll follow up with this online. I updated so there's this short link, which is just white dash papers, which presumably when we have white paper number 2 would also be at this, from the TAC, would also be at this link. Is that what you're thinking, Stefano?
Yes, that's correct. Okay.
Then there's a new direct link, which is this confidential compute, and it has this 8.5 by 11, basically. I believe, and Stefano, please confirm that all the old links that we've provided in the past redirect to this new one.
Will do. Yeah, I'll test that to make sure that any of the links we already.
Because we definitely don't want Google to have put it in a blog with the old link and then have that be broken now. So.
Right. Yeah, I would think if they're going to use a direct link going forward, they should just use the short link, because that white papers link will always be good and will never be gated. If they use that uploads, whenever that's pointing to that uploads file, we'd have to create redirects for every change we make.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So that's my only recommendation. I wouldn't use the link directly to the PDF, just link them to the white papers.
Okay. I haven't really sent out the communication about this yet, so
awesome.
When I send it out, I'll send out the please link to the white papers, and it is ungated. So there's one button to click to get to the white paper, basically.
Right. If people need a direct link to a PDF, I can make that happen. It'll just be easier than having to correct a bunch of links with dates in them in the future.
Okay. So the white paper is now ungated based on the discussion in the last meeting. So there's no form related to this white paper whatsoever. And, you know, just for if anybody wasn't on the last one, the kind of discussion was that we wanted to emphasize more broad, you know, reading of the white paper over getting contact information to build our database. So we made that change. It's now, there's a printable version, you know, the layout is, you know, not in a weird form factor. And I think we also have A4 for Open Source Summit if we need it. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. I just didn't have them update the old layout.
Okay.
That strange shape evidently is a common print media form. It's just not one that we would be able to print on our machines. So during COVID, it's pretty much useless. Is what I'm saying.
Defines how you, it depends how you define common.
Yeah, exactly. It's common if you send it to a print shop. Basically, if it wasn't 2020, it would work great.
Yeah. Okay, and then I just wanted to, I pasted it here, but the graphic that we had talked about before, like I remember we went through all the icons. So that graphic is now updated with the icons that we discussed. So that is all done. So once we can tie off on this blockchain use case, we'll should be, you know, pretty much done with the white paper until there's a new, you know, major revision that we need to look at. Ben, did you want to comment on, you know, I saw you had some comment that just came in on the blockchain white paper.
So I was very slow to get back to Sarah on some comments from a coworker, so I'm putting those in, and I was rereading it again. I had some extra thoughts. I'm actually working on a little graphic. I think that might provide a visual cue to one of the conversations on to the two approaches that are there. I don't know if I have it technically right, but I'm trying to suggest something.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm finishing this up today.
Okay. I'd encourage you, I don't want to, you know, if we're going to have a meeting in 2 weeks, I don't want it to drag on that long. So maybe,
yeah,
like, if you have outstanding comments, maybe you can just get on a call with Sarah and like work them out. And then,
I'm gonna send Sarah an email after this and have her tell her that I've finished the comments, so she knows that and she can review them. And then I'm pinging some people on my side to get some opinions about something that I need a little technical help. So
okay, so I think plan-wise, what I'll do, unless anybody has an objection, is ask Sarah to go through the ones with you and address them, and then send it back out to the outreach list and ask if there are any, you know, objections or final comments before we, you know, move forward with what we have. Since it's been reviewed several times, we brought it up. So, you know, if there are objections, we can always hold it till next meeting, or if we need to have a vote. But I think we're kind of to the point where, you know, it's kind of the last little bit. So I don't want to delay 2 more weeks if we can avoid it. Does that work for everybody?
That works. And Sarah, this is Sarah. I just joined the call late. Sorry.
Oh.
But that sounds like great next steps. And
well, good timing. Do you want to like actually go through it? Because I was, you know, given that you weren't on the call, we were gonna table it. But now that you're on the call, do you want to go through the comments and just kind of share where we're at? Or
yeah, absolutely. And again, really sincere apologies for being so late. We got Ben, and really looking forward to getting your feedback as well, and working off that offline. But we really have 2 main comments from the TAC. One is around how we describe the KYC, and I'm happy to pull this up if people want to take a look at my screen here.
Yeah, let's pull it up because it'll be better for the discussion.
Okay, let's see. Okay, here. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
With the blockchain use case, perfect. So yeah, there's really 2 main comments that need to be addressed. One's from Giuseppe from Accenture, and I know this was more around just clarifying that PII information does not sit on the blockchain. So that's just like a quick clarification on the use case. And then Dan Middleton also added, I haven't gone through this at full detail, but he added an additional use case to what was described in the 2nd paragraph. So the 2nd paragraph was all about adding, you know, scalability and privacy or security to a blockchain. But the one that Dan added, it looks like, is all about consensus protocols and how you can leverage a TEE to essentially provide attestation or validation that the transactions are valid. So I need to look at this a little bit more. And again, you can kind of see here, it goes through Bitcoin and proof of work and, terms that may not be completely suitable for the outreach white paper, given the audience that we're targeting, but definitely we'll look to see how we can incorporate this comment in. So I'll take a look at this, and then again, we'll share it for feedback. But I think that's another really interesting use case for TEEs.
Okay. Okay, whatever the resolution is, maybe like, since there are TAC people that have commented on some outstanding issues, when you send out your, like, okay, we have incorporated all feedback, here's the final version, maybe send that to the TAC list as well, since there's some TAC feedback.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I might ping Dan directly on this comment, because some of this is quite technical and specific. So we want to make sure we're making this general we want to have like the right balance of being quite general and, easy to understand with that, like technical and, the use case properly articulated. So I'll work on that too.
Yeah, if you can't find a way to incorporate it at the right technical level, I think it's, in the past, we've kind of kicked back to the TAC, like, hey, put this kind of technical detail in the TAC white paper. We're kind of trying to keep it a level higher, so if that's your conclusion, I would just talk to Dan about it, so that, he's not feeling like we're ignoring his comment, but rather feel that it's like a better fit for the technical one.
For sure. And I think that we can definitely add something in here around consensus. We really didn't do that at all. So we'll definitely take those as next steps. So I think, just to quickly summarize again, I'll try and reconcile the two comments here from the TAC. Ben will look for your email around your feedback and how we can incorporate that. And then we'll send a link to the TAC and to outreach once it's final. Is that the plan? Am I missing anything?
No, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
And then I think if there's any, if there's like big objections, or someone's like, no, I don't think that's right to do it that way, or anything like that, we can, have another session with them or whatever. But otherwise, we can just move forward, I think.
Perfect. Okay, that sounds great. And again, sorry for being so late, but I think these are good next steps, and hopefully by the next outreach this will be locked and ready to go.
Okay, sounds good.
Great, thank you.
Okay, let me go back to sharing my screen. Okay. Okay, OSS Europe. Ben, do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to just leave it on this while you talk through it?
I think this is something Stefano and me were going to do. Is that right, Stefano? Or am I winging this?
So this was just a quick overview, of if we were planning on bronze sponsorship again. Let me send you a link to the documents that I uploaded. I have a vague memory of uploading them.
Why don't you just share your screen?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I actually have to find the documents first. I'm guessing I put them in events. Yeah, I did. Hooray. Okay. Just 1 second. Okay. All right, hopefully you can all see my browser here. So these two documents basically are just, I uploaded these, and I think I sent links to the group, that essentially we put out after each event this report, so folks can look through this and just see the details of who attended and what the breakdown was, and basically any information you're looking to get out of what that event was like is probably going to be in this document. The one that I think is more pertinent is just the same sort of document we looked at last time, which is the prospectus. If you scroll down to the part about sponsorship, if we want to do bronze sponsorship again, it is the same 50% discount. So we'll still be paying $4,000 for the bronze level. And I figured this would be a good call for discussion around if we wanted to upgrade to the next level up or not. I know some of the other groups I'm working with, because no one's traveling anywhere, we tend to have more funding in our marketing budgets. And so if this is one way we wanted to use it, it's certainly something I can facilitate. That being said, I'm not a salesman.
I mean,
so.
I don't see the value in the 2 extra dots.
Yeah,
for-
that just comes down to group preference, right? I mean, branding and access to analysts is definitely not a.
Yeah, I think we've, got access to all the analysts we need. And
Right.
then, paying what, $3,000 for our logo to appear basically doesn't seem to have $3,000 in value to me, at least.
Right. Yeah, I figured the next level up would be the one folks would discuss if that's something they're interested in. And we might want to wait and do this with a larger group too, rather than the small group we have here today. And I did check if we want to just commit to bronze for now, and then the group can discuss what, I think that's gold, right? Yeah, gold. So if folks wanted to discuss gold membership, there's no
Gold and
rush
Leon,
to.
or is that why we had a session, or was it just that was an organically selected session and we were bronze and Leon?
I can check on that with marketing, with the events folks, or
We have never paid for a session.
Okay.
The BOFs that we have requested BOFs a number of times and received them, but we were just a normal bronze when we did that.
And I really wouldn't look at that bullet point as a big sale item, because let me tell you, if you put a confidential computing buff together, I'm pretty sure it's going to make it through. That's going to be a hot item they want on their list.
Okay.
It would be the other bullet points there. That would be something you'd be interested in.
Okay. Well, I was just exploring like what, whether it was worth thinking about higher levels, because sounds like it's not, and we should just stick with bronze to me.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Especially since, we didn't get a lot of, conversions in the last one, in the virtual, which is, it's virtual for this one too, right? So.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds good. Do we want to move forward with bronze, or do we want to wait for more feedback from the group before we do that?
Or is there any questions that we should research?
Since we're spending money, we should probably wait till we have quorum until we officially decide, but
Sure.
I would say maybe let's plan on it without signing any contracts until we have a group with quorum.
Yeah, that sounds good. I can have events put together a contract, and that way when we do have quorum, we'll just sign it and be ready to roll.
I mean, I would like to kind of implement some of the, I think Ben presented some good kind of improvements to how we do this after the last US OSS and or OSS North America, and we should implement those and kind of keep an eye on it, because like the level of engagement at the last virtual was pretty low. So
one of the things that Stefano is going to be working on, which is I think along those lines, is he's spending a lot of time on the website, and so that's only going to yield more return for us. And I think one of the other things we were thinking about doing, unless somebody objects, was to just launch a LinkedIn site and kind of get that moving.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, I think in this category, LinkedIn is going to be a good social channel. And then we had also talked about having the Slack channel for the event to have more conversations, right?
Yeah, and the bronze comes with the sponsored Slack channel. So I think we're covered there for at least this event.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like bronze is the right level for this group too, until we start gaining enough momentum that it's hard for us to keep up at these events, and then more sponsorship might be useful.
Okay.
Well, I didn't have anything else. I figured this would be a pretty short discussion just because we did the bronze sponsorship last time and it seemed to go pretty well. If anything, it'll just go better this time.
Okay. Well, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and assuming we have quorum, we'll just bring up the cost issue.
Sure.
But let's plan as if we're doing it at the bronze level and, go from there.
Sounds good. Excuse me.
Ben, do you want to do the Speakers Bureau stuff and take the show your screen next?
Yes. Let me see if I can steal the screen. Give me one moment here. Let's see. I'll do this and let's see. Share screen. No. Yes. Go. All right. How's this? Is this visible?
Yeah, it looks good.
All right. So I guess long story short, it's probably a matter of two things. One, we're getting requests for speakers, which is awesome that it's a pull, not necessarily a push, which is where we've kind of been trying to push people and encourage people, and people taking their own initiatives to push and request speaker slots and volunteer topics at various conferences.
Well, even more than that, we've had to assemble all the data on the fly when we just get an email to PR at, our PR alias, right? So it's more like, okay, let's scramble to get all the information and see who can speak and who's, all of that. So it's also going to make it more efficient just to handle requests that are already coming.
Yeah, and as we're looking at other websites, we've realized we have something called website envy, and so we want to improve our website. And one of the things that some of these other websites that have kind of 2.0 generation type website for us has is both a speakers bureau as well as a list of leaders, right, within that organization. And so I'm only bringing that up because the key element here from the way our site's structured is creating these kind of little profiles for various individuals behind them, as you can kind of see in this Hyperledger example. So it's something that's interesting that a lot of our LF peers are basically putting together a web page like this. So Hyperledger, I think LF Edge is another one. Pretty good examples, very basic, right? You have a little picture like you see down below, a name, a title, and then you have a little button that says read more, which basically pulls up the bio. And then there's a couple icons they can have. So some people like here have LinkedIn only, some people have Twitter, some people have a link to a blog site. There's some flexibility in having those different links to various things. So even if there was a bio on your corporate homepage or something, you could link to there as well. So just, the benefits of this is there's already templates out there, that are being used by our peer LF organizations, which is good because that means we can pull something together a little faster. And as the individuals that have the profiles create content, let's say they write a blog or they're doing a webinar, as you were going to talk about, Seth, that information maps directly back to their profile. And so there's this kind of information on the back end that can be kind of leveraged, which is awesome. One of the things that I find just personally that I don't really like when I'm looking at some of these lists is, as an example, in the Hyperledger, the list of speakers can be really long. So when you have a speakers list, and in this case, they have 61, it's great that there's a lot of people to go to, but the problem I see is they don't know, if you're looking at that list, you don't know who to go to, right?
Is there a way to build in like a filter capability?
And that's, I need to look a little bit more into that. So I think the answer is kind of yes, but if not, so as it gets a little into my proposal a little bit later, we can maybe dissect the speakers in at least into maybe some smaller segments. And so I think that's also going to be very helpful as people are trying to.
Yeah, you could filter by like outreach, TAC, leadership, or something. You could filter by like area of expertise or something like that, right?
Yeah. So I think I'm kind of expanding this topic. So there's this pure speakers bureau, but there's also, in my mind, along with this, I'm also advocating that we kind of build up some profiles for leaders like you, Seth. Like we should have, all the chair people listed in the leadership. And actually I would advocate to make it simple, just have one page that also includes Seth. So we have all the various functions that are kind of leading the organization here. And then we build out, I'll get to it later, but then we kind of build it out for the committees and whatnot, for the active participants that want to build up a profile. And then what that does is by building up all these kind of smaller groups, not only does it start getting, provide a face to the organization, but then we start building up all these different profiles that we can use in a larger speakers bureau. And so that's kind of what happens. And we can always kind of dissect this later. And one idea about making it, at least one simple idea that shouldn't be that hard, is we could have like two speakers bureau. You could basically, or have two sections where you have like, hey, who wants to, who are the people who are best able to talk and communicate about the market and the business issues, and who are the best people who can talk more about kind of maybe the technical issues. And maybe there's a third or fourth category, but that was kind of what came up to me. Maybe we have an analyst group or something. And so the good thing is that would allow some dissection, but it would also, I'm sure there will be some individuals that could easily fit into more than one, so there'd be a little duplication. I'm just gonna go. So another option, and this is, pardon me for blatantly showing Mike Purcell here, but there's another option, and something I've been exposed to. At Red Hat, we have something called Speaker Hub. So it's a third-party agency that all they do is focus on kind of the speaker market, if you will, right? So they do it two directions, right? They market to speakers as a place to kind of have a forum and communicate and link all your information, have your bio, have sample presentations, sample photos, sample kind of everything. If you're a professional speaker and you have fees, they service those people. If you're not, they service those people. It's a little bit of everything, right? But it's a place to kind of get your word out if you're a speaker, but it's also a place for if you're an event and you're looking for a certain speaker, whether it's Mike Purcell or Mr. T is another example on there, you can go and you can find out, oh, I can find the speaker, or I am looking for somebody who is in the country of Italy and can talk to me about both confidential computing and GDPR. There's an ability to filter and look through that stuff. So it's a paid option. I just got pricing. I spoke to the organization last week. So the advantage there would be if we use a site like this, our speakers would be found in more searches and would get the word out more. There's a very extensive list of information that can be put in the speaker bio. As an example, at the time of me doing the search on Speaker Hub, besides there being literally thousands of people on there that are highly qualified, if you type in confidential computing, 2 people show up. Mike Purcell is one, which I'm happy about. And there's another person who comes up who has nothing to do with confidential computing or security industry at all. So 2 people, and one of them's a bogus search data. So, that's good for Mike, but from an awareness standpoint, that also kind of shows that we're not really penetrating there very well, right? So if people were to do searches, it'd be good if there was multiple speakers in case maybe there was a reason they didn't like Mike, because maybe he was in the wrong geography, or he was unavailable, or they were looking for somebody from a different type of company. Could be a lot of reasons. So if the advantage of getting there would be, we could get our speakers kind of more face time, and hopefully that would lead to more speaking events. The other challenge is that profiles can be lengthy to complete, but with the paid model that they offer, and I'll tell you the price in a second, they do have an option where they will have somebody who can pre-populate the profile for you. So you can basically it's like a little professional service. You kind of put in a request ticket and you send them like your LinkedIn profile or something, and they'll kind of go through and grab all that stuff that they can find. they'll maybe look at your Twitter feed and whatnot, and then they'll just start kind of pre-populating and kind of get you going, right? And then they'll fill in more information for you, and you can kind of add to it over time.
Quick question, in this option, is it like easy to embed our list of speakers on our website?
Yes, and that's actually how they kind of like doing it. So when you got to the filtering idea, there's two ways you can filter. As a, let's say, an event organizer could come to our site, and they could click on this, which would take them to, it'd be like speakerhub.confidentialcomputing.io. So when they went to our /speakers, they would be redirected to this kind of subdomain, and then they would have the stronger ability to filter. So if they wanted to filter by geography and company, and let's say they already have somebody from Red Hat, and they already have Mike speaking for something else, and like, we need somebody else to talk about it, and they're filtering through and they're thinking about it, then they would be able to get a list of other types of speakers that they might like. That is one cool thing that can be done. The other thing is there's kind of an admin view. So the admin view is where, I'll pick on Stefano because he'd probably make the most sense. Somebody like a Stefano or Youssef, right? Or me, we could log into Speakers Hub, and we could say, here's our 60 speakers that we have, and we could put in backend tags for whatever. So you could put in a backend tag to say this person's analyst qualified. You could put another tag in to say this person is, member of the TAC. You could put another one to say, this person can talk about presentation 1, presentation 4, and presentation 6, whatever it is, right? There's always, it has a little bit of an open tagging mechanism behind the scenes. So what that allows is both the website of Speaker Hub to basically be a view for event organizers to search for the right speaker. We would be also on the full website, as well as the view you would get by clicking through our site, which is really just a subdomain tag to their site.
Yeah.
But it also, if the request came into, let's say, you or Stefano or Wally, right? Any of you would be able to you could basically go in and say, oh, I need to do a tag, and those tags you could use on the main site if you knew the right tags to search for the right people.
Okay.
To get that list, and then you could provide that filtered list search URL and copy that and hand it off and say, okay, here's Wall Street Journal wants blah blah blah. You figure out the stuff, you copy the URL, and you can send it to them. So there's a lot of power for it. The fee is pricey in my mind for where we're at today. The fee is $9,500 a year for up to 250 speakers. So, I'm not advocating necessarily that we should do it, but I think if I go to the next page, I think it's something, I didn't note number 5. I think it's someplace maybe we want to get there. And if this becomes more important, maybe we go there sooner. But my recommendation is kind of this list, right? But let's get the profiles going. I would advocate that people should consider creating a Speaker Hub profile, because Mike is at a gold level because Red Hat pays for that organizational level slot. But like a LinkedIn or whatever, you can have the freebie version, right? So you can create the profile, you'll come up in searches, and you can have that free profile. You just won't get all the bells and whistles. I think we should, in the meantime, create basically the speaker template like we did for, basically take the template that LF Edge and Hyperledger are using. I think we start creating and blowing that out, filling this in, and we start with the leadership of CCC, and then we start working on the committees. And as we're doing that, we'll just start adding these profiles into kind of the general speaker bureau, and we can groom them and segment them a little later in time once we get enough people. And one option is for those who are either have a corporate profile or using Speaker Hub or using some other third-party speaker site, there is an option to kind of create some icons that would map to those other locations, above and beyond your Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. So I think we kind of get through those phases in my mind. And then I think if we want to advocate more of our speaker bureau, then I think we take a look at maybe paying some money to Speaker Hub.
I think that makes sense as an approach because, yeah, we should figure out whether it's going to get used very much before we invest that much money in it. And if we have a template available from Hyperledger that we can use, that is a pretty good option to get started.
Yeah. Is there any questions or concerns or thoughts?
I mean, when you get into the details, my only thing would be like, does it have spots for X, Y, and Z, which is probably, if we're aligning it to the Speakers Bureau, it looks like that's pretty comprehensive. So, if there's a spot to link to previous, recordings of presentations or, white papers they've written or whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of where the current template gets kind of weak. So, like I know one cool example I've seen from corporate websites is you click on the speaker or not the speakers, but you click on if you have a profile of bloggers or something, you click on that person and it will show like, here's a list of all the blogs they've had, right? That I think is going to require some work. I think we should be able to do that. I just haven't seen that done on an OF site.
Well, I mean, worst case, you can put like links, hyperlinks to the different things you want to into the profile, right? But
I think we can. The profile is a little limited, and it looks like it's maybe a little more manual than something kind of automatically generated. So this is where I start to cringe. And if you do that, and the initial profile that's being displayed gets long, then it gets the Speaker Bureau get very cluttered very quickly.
No, I would think it would be like you click on that person and then you get a page.
Yeah, it's not a page. What you do is you basically see what you see here. And if you click read more, you get a little pop-up window that has literally just text from their bio.
Okay.
So we could create more pages, but then now we're creating like static pages for each speaker, I think. So we'll look into it, but that's.
Well, I mean, if it pops up a box, that's like similar to a page, I guess, unless there's a limit on the number of characters and what you can put in there.
The probably is. I'm not sure if it would take hyperlinks. But we can look into that. That is a hesitation I have. I know it's not a problem for Speaker Hub. There's this nice long list where you can kind of put lots of you can put in videos and recordings and photos and slides and everything, because you basically are building up like your, kind of like a CV of sorts, right?
Yeah.
So, question about the process going past that, like who gets listed? I heard earlier some discussion of that, but as new projects are joining that may not be company backed or may not have a seat on the board or the TAC.
I would love to have a speakers list per project as well. So
okay, great.
This really gets into the thing, like how important the thing that Seth brought up is, can we do filtering? And the other thing you brought up is, can we do links to content? And the answer is we really need to find a way to do that. I need to look into understanding that more. I'm just trying to get something kind of moving sooner, and so I'm trying to use the rough templates that we have, and my goal will be to try to figure out, can we tweak these a little bit more to make them more usable.
It seems like a nice answer to some of the questions we've gotten during project intake of what do you provide to a project? Well, you can put a couple people, technical leaders from your project into this list, and then they can be more visible to media or helps raise the visibility of the project. It's great.
In the original proposal for the Speakers Bureau, the idea was not to kind of limit it to some special group of people like leadership or anything. It was to keep it pretty open but just to make sure people had like media training and, you know, knew certain content that they were speaking about if they're going to represent like
Sure.
CCC as a speaker, right? So I think the idea was anybody who's a member of the CCC could be a speaker, but
Correct.
that they go through some process to make sure they, you know, are, you know what they need to know to do that.
So let me clarify. So there was a request to create profiles a while ago that hasn't been successful. So the idea of creating the profiles, now that we're going for a speaker, it seems like we're in agreement to at least start with the web page templates to build a speaker profile, speaker bureau. The idea is it's easier for me to push somebody like Wally or, you know, Seth to create the bios and become representatives and have that completed. It is harder for me to go after every single person who's anonymous and
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the idea is that you go after them. I think the idea is that they submit like a request to be listed if they want to be listed, not that you have to go get people, right?
Yeah, so if you think about it, I'm just trying to get to a point where there's enough profiles up there that we can kind of point to people and say,
yeah,
we have a speakers bureau. Let us know if you want to be added as well, versus we have a blank page.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. Like start with the leadership, maybe, you know, next group, like, you know, do the people who were involved in the analyst presentation, which is like a slightly expanded version. You know, there's more people in that than are in the leadership, right? And then, you know, and then open it up and say, if you want to be listed here, you know, go through this process.
Yeah, so I see this as a very iterative process. So welcome all comments. Again, it would be, if you have any comments, just like you have for maybe website improvements, we can just kind of take those suggestions that way.
Okay. Well, it sounds like the next step is you have to go figure out whether the Hyperledger example will be sufficient for a first step.
Yes.
Which I think it likely will be. It'll just have some limitations, right?
Yep. And then we'll be picking on all the chairs to create profiles.
Yeah. So then we'll just need like a little form. Maybe you can create a form or something, and we can fill it out or log into wherever and fill out the profiles for each person. You know, each person can fill out their own.
To your point earlier about wanting to list people who've had speaker training or things like that, if that is something which a project coming in has not had, is it something that either the LF or we could provide?
Yeah, I think that was the idea, was like, okay, have you had, you know, do you know whatever content you're claiming to be able to speak on? You know, like let's say the outreach white paper, or the TAC white paper, or the analyst slides, or whatever, like, have you done any of those before? If not, like, that doesn't mean you're excluded. That means.
So that's not quite what I'm asking.
Okay, what
so that is a great point as well. Would we list people as potential speakers not for a CCC holistic representation, but to represent their individual projects? And if we would, then would we, or would the TAC, or would they be available to, say, a project technical leader some media training to help them learn how to represent their project if they're, say, coming from a research group and don't have a company funding media team to train them?
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing to provide.
Yes, because that's an indirect representation of the CCC, and they are part of the CCC even if they're just part of the project.
Perfect. Yeah, and even if they're just talking about that project and not the CCC as a whole. And
it'll help them be more effective in representing their project too.
Absolutely.
So
good.
Yeah. And that comes back in my mind back to our original goal of driving awareness overall, even if it's just a project and their niche, just by opening up doors and eyeballs to their project, they're opening up eventually to the wider audience in my mind. So that's a great thing for us.
Yeah, and I think initially, you know, we can, you know, people who have media training could, you know, spend an hour with them and do it. And then, you know, if it gets to be like a larger task, we could bring in like a PR person or something to do that which would cost money, but would be probably worthwhile.
And maybe that media training could even be done. I'm sure, I can't imagine the media training dramatically different between a lot of the main organizations on this committee. So that could also be done by just pulling some in-house resources. You know.
Yeah, like we could do like one a month or something and get everybody on it who needs to be on it, as opposed to one-on-one. Okay. Sounds like we have a plan, and we can put it back on the agenda whenever, you know, in the next meeting, if you have some answers or more information for the next step.
Right now, I mean, you can put it as a future thing to a future task if you want. I think the future task is really about how we filter. Yeah, how we provide mapping to content and filter the list of speakers. So
Yeah.
those are two things we really have to.
I mean, I think for now, even if we can't filter, the number is low enough where it's worth doing it.
Exactly. So I'm not worried until we hit like, you know, 30 or something. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably like your first, you know, half a dozen, then a dozen with the next group, you know, and then that's probably manageable. You know, for like 6 months or something, and then we'll probably get more people wanting to do it, and then we have to worry about it.
Absolutely. Okay. So this is great. Thank you.
Okay. We have only a few minutes left, so let me just quickly, we might have to continue this discussion in the next meeting, but let me quickly share something and see if we can agree on some things.
Oh, there's stop share. Sorry.
Okay, are you seeing the PowerPoint or my blank background?
You're good.
Okay. Oh, now you're in the wrong view. There, we'll just leave it like this. Okay, we've talked several times about doing a webinar. I think it would make sense to get that going. So my quick proposal here is do a webinar based on the analyst slides. We could augment it with additional information, you know, from the white paper if we want to. Have it be kind of a similar, you know, group that did the analyst briefings. I was thinking that from a timing perspective, it might make sense to do it just after the open source summit so that we could promote it at that. And that would also give us a couple months to promote it, since we have like very few people in a database, and we haven't really gotten our channels to promote things like this up and running. So it'd be good to have longer to promote it. In terms of website, you know, I think, you know, if we're probably going to do an ongoing set of webinars, so we should probably figure out a webinars kind of top level navigation. We'll need some kind of landing page to point to that has a form to register. I think we have, Stefano, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have Zoom available for webinars. Is that correct? As a platform?
Yep. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and that I presume that includes all the registration pages and all of that can be embedded in our website.
Yes, that's correct.
Then, you know, I figured we would want to send our email to our small database, and also maybe provide an email template for members if they're have like a list of people that are interested in confidential computing, you know, make it available, maybe some sample, you know, social posts, and then look at, you know, if there are any free kind of outside promotion to increase the number of people we could get registered. The one I know about that's might be interesting is like a Bright Talk, which generally has a model of, you know, they do it for free, and then, you know, if you're a vendor, you could purchase the leads or whatever, which we don't have to purchase. So that was my 3-minute version of the webinar proposal, and we're kind of out of time. So any quick comments or thoughts, and then we could continue this in the next meeting if necessary. Nobody?
Yes, we should do it.
Okay. Okay, well, let me know if you have suggestions. We're kind of out of time to talk about it, but let me know, and you know, I'll talk with Stefano a little bit about the logistics of getting this going, and then we can confirm. I think we have enough time where we could talk about it a little bit more in the next meeting, but do some groundwork between now and then. Stefano, next meeting, are we still on the every 2 week schedule, I believe?
That is correct. Our next meeting will be held on September 9th.
Okay. And then at that meeting, we can discuss whether we go back to weekly, probably.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, then let's adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, folks.